Welcome everyone. Today we'll be discussing over a very specific topic within digital SAT, the reading and writing section. Before I hand it over to Namrata, who is our expert mentor for SAT preparation, I will also give you the introduction of the organization, a little bit of background about SAT, and we will just run through the topics which you could look at the math section. But today, the complete focus would be remaining within the reading and writing section of SAT itself. So without further ado, we'll just be starting across with our presentation. And the way we'll be flowing across with it, as I have said, we will be first discussing about the SAT section itself, and then we will move into the reading and writing masterclass. I will then move across to our approach and conclude with the resources as we always do in all of our presentations. Now, before we move across into the subject matter, I just want to now introduce you all the members who are all the participants in our presentation today. The primary one being Let's Unbound, the organization that is conducting the presentation today. So Let's Unbound began focus with skill building, empowering elementary and middle school courses for high school students with STEM life skills and mentorship. As these students eventually progressed to high school, they started seeking college admissions guidance, and that's where we listened. We evolved our services to seamlessly integrate the storytelling through application into our already well-established mentoring programs. Now, by combining personalized learning, skill development, and strategic admission support, we guide students from their early academic years to top global universities. Today, we have impacted more than 4,000 students across 25 countries and have delivered over 125,000 hours of expert mentoring. Our commitment to excellence has earned us a 4.9 over 5 global rating. We are also very proud to have partnered with organizations as Harvard Students Agency and the Arizona State University Prep Digital, ensuring that the students receive world-class educational experience. So at Let's Bound, we don't just prepare students for exams, we prepare them for life. Giving you now a quick run through with our founders who have had the organization initiated. On your left, you see Amol Patil, a serial entrepreneur and education visionary with experiences ranging from Tata to Exceed, which is India's largest edtech platform. Amol has been helpful in giving solutions across more than 2,000 schools in 6 countries, impacting more than 250,000 students. He's known for his ability to blend business thinking and on-ground school realities, and he's been instrumental in helping startups from IIT Bombay and beyond succeed in the education space. On your right, you see Professor Nishant Chawla, a mentor and educator, and the brains behind many of the learning pathways that we'll be sharing across today as well. With 14 plus years of experience across academia and industry, he has counseled more than 1,000 students and has designed curriculums from K-12 to executive MBA programs. He's an alumnus of SP Jain, a top-rated teacher, a proud mentor of change under the Atal Innovation Mission NITI Aayog. Now, moving across to the last introduction, my own. I am an MBA from Symbiosis, SC Machadi, Pune. I started my own professional journey with Jaguar Land Rover, and then I've also had stints with Citibank and Standard Charter within the financial advisory sector of my consultancy, and then eventually moved on to EdTech with Crimson Education and Added Education, both of them international players when it comes to aspects of admissions abroad, and very much focused in your countries as US, UK, Europe. So that's more across of the introduction about me and about our co-founders. Just would like to understand a little bit about the crowd that has also joined us across today. So as you know, today's topic is on SAT. I would just like to know that how many of us here have actually attempted SAT in the past. If you could just quickly answer the poll, so we could move on from this. It will just give us a good, understanding of students, who have seen the SAT exam before. Right. So I'm just quickly ending this poll. We are moving on to the next one. So I could just understand what is the current grade of students as of now. So if you could just quickly put in your current grade, all students is below grade 9 could choose choice 8. And you could just let me know which are the grades that the students are currently in. So you've got a good proportion of students in grade 10 and grade 11. Right. Now, one last quick poll that I want to do just to understand which kind of countries are we all right, largely looking towards. Right. The majority, again, as always, is being dominated by USA and followed by UK in a close second. Right. So we have got a US heavy participation, people looking for admissions from there. The second focus, yes, is for students who are in grade 10 and 12. And majority of the students really haven't attempted the SAT so far. So I would be really taking the whole session right from the scratch. And as I've said, we will be discussing about SAT right from its root itself, that what is all about SAT, why does it really matter, and really, to start across there, that is a good point that we could talk about. That even in a test optional world, a strong SAT score can be the big difference maker. It can unlock scholarships, help you stand out in competitive applications, and show colleagues that colleges that you are ready for an academic rigor. The SAT, originally known as the Scholastic Aptitude Test, was first introduced in 1926. Over the years, it has evolved to assess students' critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Today, the SAT remains a widely used college admission test, primarily in the United States, but also for universities worldwide. The College Board, a non-for-profit organization founded in the 1900s, administers the SAT. Its mission is to expand access to higher education by providing standardized assessments and resources for students. Other programs that College Board runs, it's your PSAT, the NMSQT, and also your advanced placements, much more famously called as APs. So the SAT plays a crucial role in your college admissions, it offering an opportunity to demonstrate the academic strengths. While many schools have adopted test optional strategies, a strong SAT score can still provide a competitive edge, especially for scholarships and very much so, especially for international students. Now that we've understood, SAT background and its overall role with the College Board, let's now try to explore what is this digital SAT framework. So now, just moving across to our next slide, that now we have looked across at what is SAT and how it came about to be. Let's just take a good look into the framework of digital SAT, how the test is structured, and what it really evaluates. The digital SAT has been redesigned to make the test taking experience much more streamlined, secure, focused on skills that truly matter for college and beyond. Here are the key aspects of the new SAT. So the test lasts for 2 hours and 14 minutes, which is shorter than the previous paper-based version. It consists of two sections. You've got your math section, which covers algebra, advanced mathematics, data analysis. You also then the one topic that we'll be discussing across today, which is your evidence-based reading and writing, which assesses comprehension, grammar, reasoning, and overall analytical skills. The test is now administered online, making it more efficient, accessible, while also improving security. One of the most important changes in the digital SAT is the shift away from memorization towards now real world application of knowledge. Instead of just testing how well students remember formulas or grammar rules, the SAT now evaluates how well they can apply concepts in different contexts, whether a problem solving, reading comprehension, or logical reasoning. The test is also now adaptive, which is a very important change as well, meaning the difficulty of questions will adjust based on the student's performance. These updates have now gone on to ensure that SAT is a real reflection of critical thinking and problem solving abilities, skills that are highly valued by both universities and eventually employers. Now that we have understood how the test is structured, let's move on to the next most important topic, how SAT scoring works. So you really have a better understanding how to perform, how your performance is measured, and what colleges are really looking for in applicants. And also that since I've told you that SAT is becoming much more adaptive, what does that adaptive mean? So we'll be able to really understand this from the scoring aspect for it. So as you can see on your screen, firstly on the right side, you've got your stage one, you've got easier stage two, you've got harder stage two as well. But we'll first start across with, just giving you the overall understanding. So one of the biggest changes, as I've said, with digital SAT is now that it is an adaptive test. But what does that mean? So the SAT is divided into two stages, as the one that I was just showing you, for each section. So reading and writing will have its easier stage two, harder stage two, and obviously starting with the stage one. So you could imagine this structure being present on both your reading and writing and maths. Everyone will start with the same stage one, which will include a mix of easy, medium, hard questions. However, based on your performance in stage one, you would be placed in one of the two different stage versions. If you perform well in stage one, you are placed in one of the two of these different versions of stage two. So now, let's suppose if you've done well in stage one itself, you move on to harder stage two, which contains mostly medium to hard questions. If you perform at a weaker level in stage one, you would then move to easier stage two, which contains mostly easy to medium questions. But this means that your performance in the first stage really determines your scoring. So the students who have been placed in the harder stage two can achieve the highest possible score up to 800, which is maximum for each section. Students who get placed in easier stage two will have a lower maximum possible score, which is largely capped around 600 per section. So if you manage to get into, let's say, easier stage two in both your reading and writing and your math section, the maximum denominator you're actually going for is 1200. To really have it opened up across in the way that if you're aiming for the top 20, top 40 college, trying to get as close to the 1600, you should be moving into harder stage two for both of these various sections. So why does the SAT use this adaptive testing? This adaptive testing really helps to create a much more accurate and personalized assessment while also making the test shorter and more efficient. Since students only answer questions suited to their skill level, the test feels much more tailored and avoids unnecessary repetition of either very easy or very difficult question. The previous SAT was a better understanding, if I'd say this way, of the admissions officer knowing what the student does not know. If the stage is very difficult for him and he or she is just not simply able to answer it, so all you can just find out is what the student doesn't know. But for the same student, if you create an easier stage two, and he ends up answering a few, leaving out a few other, then the understanding of what the student really does know is much more clear. So the key takeaways for your SAT scoring is your performance in stage one is extremely critical because it will determine which kind of stage two you get. The stage two difficulty affects your final scoring range very directly. The SAT score again remains out of 1600 with 800 points in each your math and reading and writing section. So the key strategy here is to perform very well in stage one. Now, just to also just run you over this one part of the importance of the SAT, why is SAT still mattering in your college admissions? Over the past few years, many universities adopted a test optional policy due to the pandemic, allowing students to apply without a SAT or ACT score. However, this trend is now shifting, and we are now seeing several top universities reinstating the test requirement. So, the universities that have really have bought in SAT as a mandate, you could look at Harvard University, Dartmouth, Purdue, Brown University, Yale, and very interestingly, even universities within the state of California, the first state that actually had proposed, universities to go SAT blind or be SAT optional, California. You have California Institute of Technology, Caltech, which has bought back SAT in its full complete version. They have all announced that SAT or ACT score will again be required by the applicants. These universities argue that standardized test scores provide a valuable metric to assess the students fairly, especially in the case of your inflated grades and very academic rigor across high schools across the globe. Now, there are also some universities that have put this into the test optional category. So you do have universities as Columbia, Princeton, Cornell, Stanford, UPenn, University of Chicago. They all have gone back into SAT optional. This means that SAT scores are not mandatory in these institutes, but a high score can still make your application that much more competitive. In the test optional scenario, students who submit strong scores can stand out amongst the other applications who do not. So it really does do quite well to showcase your skills beyond your GPA. it opens up scholarship opportunities and really strengthens your application. So one of those final takeaways that I'd like to put across on the stage is if you're applying to schools that have reinstated SAT, your score is a mandatory part of the application. But if you're applying to a test optional, a strong SAT score can boost your chances. And do remember, these SAT tests do also stand a very good showcase reason for you getting a scholarship. Now, before we move on to those various sections, just to give you this quick look, how do you really find out about the SAT score that you'll be applying for? So every university is going to be, releasing their CDS, which is the Common Data Set, is issued annually. These on this data, you could look at the percentiles that help you understand where a student's score stands compared to the other applicants. So just quickly understanding the SAT percentile, the 25th percentile really represents students who are lower, whose score lower than 75% of the admitted applicants. The 50th percentile, that's where the median score is. Half of the admitted scores scored above this, half of them scored below it. The 75th percentile represents the highest scorers. Students in this range are in the top 25% of the admitted applications. Now, for example, look at Harvard's number. The 25th percentile SAT score is 740 for the reading and writing section and 760 for maths, where the 25th percentile was from 760 to 790, and the real 25% of the applicants were ranging anywhere between 780 to 800 within mathematics, meaning the top scorers nearly maxed out the test itself. While on the other side, if I show you another, kind of university to just give you this understanding, ATM, University of Texas A&M, the 25th percentile SAT score is around 1160, while the 75th is 1380, and which really means that students need to score from a mid to a high of 1300 to be in the competitive range of, let's say, a Texas A&M. While on the other side, if you're looking at something within Harvard, you need to be scoring above 1500. So whenever you get into this whole aspect of selecting universities, it is very important to look at the overall SAT scores that you need to be defining. Just to give you an overall understanding, if you're looking at a top 10 college, you're going to be largely trying to score around the 1550, a top 20 around 1500, and any university in the top 50 will require you a minimum SAT score of 1400. Now, let's just quickly do a bit of some number crunching. So I could just hand it over to Namrata, who can take you into the depth of the English section. So as I've said, SAT is scored out of 1600, and it has two of the main sections with math around 800, reading and writing again out of 800. And as I already explained to you, both of these sections will be having two stages, stage 1 and stage 2, which will have a very strong effect on your final score range. Now, how many questions do you need to really get right? Each section, let's suppose in maths would have 44 questions, the reading and writing section will have 54 questions. Now, if you do a quick amount of mathematics, you would see that you have 64 minutes for 54 questions within reading and writing, brings it down to 1.2 minutes or 72 seconds per question. Within maths, you've got 70 minutes and 44 questions. So that's approximately 1.6 minutes or 96 seconds per question. So if you really think about it, if you take too long on a single difficult question, you're going to risk running out of time for easier ones. Skipping and returning to those difficult questions is the smart strategy to really maximize your score. How can you really maximize it? Try to get into the range of 750, 780, 800 for maths, where then you have got some leeway to keep your English within the range of 730, 760, and easily go above that 1500 or 1550 benchmark. Now, the final takeaways of this section is the SAT is not just about getting every question right. It's about strategic accuracy and time management. Prioritize easy questions and medium difficulty questions to ensure a higher raw score. And keep an eye on the clock. It's going to be your best ally and nemesis at the same time. Now, just to show you the quickly the sections within mathematics, it's largely divided into two sections itself. So you've got algebra, you've got geometry and trigonometry with, those topics that you can see on the screen. And both of these sections would be accounting for 70% of this whole, of the math section itself, 35 to 35% equally. The other two sections will be within advanced maths and problem solving and data analysis. Right. So these are also the various topics that you could look at. Combined, they would be having a 30% weightage onto your application. So this I wanted to share across to you just to introduce you to the topic of SAT itself. So now I would like to hand it over to Namrata. So Namrata, if you could, I'll just stop my share and you could share
Yes.
your screen instead, and then you could continue with the presentation. I'm around here, and so would be Usha, just to make sure if there are any issues to help you. Thank you. Over to you, Namrata.
Yes. Am I audible? Can everyone hear
Perfectly.
me? Okay, great. Thank you for us and welcome everybody. Warm welcome to all the participants in today's masterclass. I'm Namrata, and to tell you a little bit about myself, I have more than 20 years of experience in teaching the SAT reading and writing section, as it is now called. So, I have seen the SAT transition from a paper based test, a test which was high on vocabulary, to reading passages, and now a mixture of both. I can proudly say that I am one of the first SAT verbal faculty of India. So you're in good hands. And let's move on to the agenda for today's class. You have all been muted for a smooth flow of the masterclass, but still, I would really like you to interact with me on the chat box and through the expressions like the thumbs up. So we will make this class as interactive as possible. So the agenda is that I will be picking up one of the reading and writing topics, which is word in context questions. Now, the purpose is that every question type has to be supported with the pillar of strategy and core knowledge building. So, with this one topic, we will learn how to attempt all the other question types or how a student is taught to attempt all the question types. Yes, all the questions will be answered at the end of the masterclass. Faraz and I will both take up questions. In the meanwhile, I would request you to put your question in the chat box. So let's continue the class. Yes. So now I will just elaborate on the reading and writing section. The reading section means the reading comprehension questions. The passages are from various subject areas such as social sciences, economics, astronomy, and American history. Something new that Digital SAT is doing is they are giving you poetry excerpts also. So that is challenging for some of the students. Now, in reading comprehension, the purpose is to gauge whether a student can understand what the question is asking and retrieve relevant information from the irrelevant information. The reading questions are broadly of two types: general questions, which focus on whether you know what is the main purpose, as it says, central ideas and details, whether you know what is the structure of the questions, or a line will be underlined. They will ask you to, they'll ask you the function of the underlined line. So those are your specific question types. But the purpose of SAT is the same, whether you can retrieve and understand relevant from irrelevant information. The writing section, as it is called, is basically your grammar section. The SAT tests you on a set of major and micro or minor grammar rules, and these are SAT grammar rules. So we need to understand how these sentences have to be corrected as per the SAT grammar. They also test you on transition words or conjunctions, as they call. So besides grammar, that we've learned in school about nouns, verbs, adverbs, your transition words, and you understand transition words, how a thought changes with the transition word is also tested by the SAT. So let's move on now to the test. And before we move on, let me ask you a small question, and please raise your hand If you know the answer, please do not Google the answer. How many of you know the name of the capital of Tuvalu? Please give a thumbs up. Yes. Any one of you knows the capital of Tuvalu? Yes. Okay. Now let me ask you. I'll just. Yes. Now do we know the name of the capital of Tuvalu? Can you put in the chat box? Can you give a thumbs up? Is it A, B, C, or D? Yes. How many of you? I'm not getting any answers. Can you all hear me? Please give me a thumbs up. Yes, I want some interaction happening. What is the capital of Tuvalu? Yes. What is the answer? Yes. I'm not getting any answers in the chat box. Yes. Okay. Yes. So the answer is Funafuti. Now, how many of you knew this before I showed you the options? Yes, some thumbs up, please. Yes. How many of you knew this? Now, we know it is not London, it is not New Delhi. Okay. And it is not Greece. But why is it not Greece? It is not Greece because of two reasons. Firstly, Greece is a country. So the question is asking, name the capital. So D answer choice is wrong because of two reasons. Firstly, we know it is not Greece, and secondly, Greece is a country. So it does not answer your question. And this is basically the process of elimination. This is the strategy. Please remember, your SAT is a test of speed versus accuracy. You might not have the exact answer, but you can always come down to two answer choices, and then you can come down to the right answer using the process of elimination and other strategies. So now we continue to the word and context questions, which is the main topic of today. Let's go to the first question. Now, ideally, every student, as he or she has been taught in the class, tends to first read the sentence, then read the question, and then plug in the answer choices one by one in the sentence. So we will do the reverse. We will learn to do the question in the reverse manner. As used in the text, what does the word decisive most nearly mean? If a scientist asserts that the stars at these immense distances have a decisive effect on the possibility, I'm so sorry. I hope I can still share the screen with you. Are you all able to see the screen? Are you able to see the screen, please?
Yes, yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, great. So just one moment. I think I'm having a technical glitch. Yes. Yes. So sorry for that. It has a decisive effect on the possibility of human existence. He will be suspected of being a believer in astrology. But it happens to be true that we could not have survived if the average distance between stars were only 2 million miles instead of 20. Now, this is what the SAT does. It embroils you in words. Now, please tell me in the chat box or give me a thumbs up. How many of you think that the answer is A? I want the participants to answer, please. Please use expressions and tell me how many of you think that the answer is A? B? I'm not getting any answers. C? Okay. And D? How many of you think the answer is D? Yes. So now, if you see, yes, okay. So how many of you think the answer is A? B. How many of you think the answer is B? C? Okay. And D? Okay. So I have very few people answering, but that's okay. Now the answer is B. And why is the answer B? Now, here if you see, your D goes out. It is completely out of scope. I know philanthropic is definitely not my answer. I come down to A, B, and C, extreme. Okay, now decisive is a very neutral word. It does not say anywhere in the sentence that it is an extreme decision, it is a soft decision, or is it a neutral decision. Okay, it just says decisive. So the connotation of the lines is neutral. So C goes out. Now resolute also means, but resolute means to make a strong decision. If it means to make a strong decision and the connotation of the sentence is neutral, then between A and B, I go for B. The second reason why I go for B is that this is a passage from astronomy. Most of the passages or the lines that you get in the SAT are from science journals, from social science journals. So they are mostly neutral in tone unless they are from prose and poetry. And because they are neutral in tone, the answer will also be neutral. Hence, the answer is B. And now let's recap on the approach for the word and context questions. So we delete our school way of solving word and context questions or vocabulary questions, and we instead read the question first. Please remember the question is very important. Here, if you see, it says as used in the context, okay, as used in the text, which means we have to answer or pick up the word which is correct as per the usage in the text. It also says most nearly means. That means you will come down to two correct answer choices like resolute and important, and then you have to look closer to pick up the correct answer. So then you read the passage with the focus on the word. You look for clues in the sentence. What are the clues? We'll do it with the next question. And you ask yourself, is the sentence positive or negative in its connotation? Is it neutral? And you always come up with your answer. You pick up the answer that is closest to your word that you have come up with. Please remember, your step 5 is very important. If you start plugging in every answer choice, you're wasting time. You're reading one sentence at least 3 times. And like Faraz also mentioned, this is a test of speed versus accuracy. So, lastly, you come down to 2 or 3 answer choices and you remove them on the basis of out of scope, like philanthropy was completely out of scope. Correct, like resolution was correct, but not in usage. Okay, and then you have your trap answers. So now let's do a simpler question. Please remember the questions have been picked up from different subject genres. They've been picked up of different difficulty levels also. So the next question is fairly easy. I want more thumbs up coming from all of you. Yes. So again, which choice completes the text with the most logical and precise word or phrase? Now, this is a slightly different structured word and context questions. You have a blank space and it says a blank society, a society whose civilization is shaped by market transactions, is always likely to reflect the appetites and preferences of common men and women. Each may not have much money, but there are so many of them that their tastes are decisive. So decisive seems to be the favorite word of SAT. Now, how many of you think that the answer is A? Please give me a thumbs up. How many of you, please give me a thumbs up. I want more interaction happening. How many of you think the answer is B? Very good. How many of you think that the answer is C? And how many of you think that the answer is D? So how many of you, and I want more answers coming, are sure that the answer is B? A thumbs up once again. Yes? Great. Now, the answer is B. It is so obvious. A society whose civilization is shaped by market transactions. That means we are coming up with words. My answer would be a materialistic society, a society that's based on finance, a capitalistic society, right? And what is closest to my word? B. So A goes out, C goes out, and D goes out. Now, of all the participants, how many of you, and philanthropic is another of the favorite words, knew the meaning of philanthropic? Please give me a thumbs up if you knew the meaning of the word philanthropic. Okay. And so I will assume that most of the other participants did not know the meaning of the word philanthropic. Yes. And hence, towards the end of the reading and writing masterclass, we will focus on the third pillar. That is your core knowledge building. With this, I move on to the third question. And like I said, I'm giving you a variety of questions with different difficulty levels. So, the third question and the approach is, I read the question first. As used in the text, what does the word bark most nearly mean? Now it says this poem, lines 1 to 6, are from The Hurricane by Philip Freneau, published in 1785. Now, please remember the introductory lines, or as we like to call it, the blurb, which is in bold, is extremely important. I know this is from a poem. I know it's 1785, so I also know that the language will be archaic, which also tells me if I'm not comfortable with this question, let me come back to it later. Can I handle poetry? It is having deeper layers of meaning. Now, this is a challenging question, a harder difficulty question. So let's read this together. Happy the man who safe on shore, now trims at home his evening fire. Unmoved he hears the tempest's roar, that on the tufted groves expire. Alas, on us they doubly fall, our feeble bark must bear them all. Now, the important lines or the important words are the first and the last. Happy the man, are feeble, which means that the poet is talking about the men who are safe on the shore, who are at home and they're tending the evening fire, vis-a-vis he, which mentions as are. Okay, and they are on the ship. And how do I know they're on the ship? Okay, now this is where the third pillar comes in. Okay, and he says the tempest. And there is a play by Shakespeare also, The Tempest, and tempest means storms, the sea storms. So he says that the man on the shore only hears the tempest roar, whereas we bear the brunt of the tempest. Okay, and who bears the brunt of the tempest? A sailor, right? Somebody who's at sea. Yes. But whom does it fall on? Our feeble bark. That means there is something that belongs to the sailor. What could belong to the sailor? What is it that the sailor has which should bear the brunt of the tempest? So, again, how many of you, and please, I want a thumbs up coming, think that the answer is A? I want more interaction happening. B. How many of you think that the answer is B? Very good. C, D. Okay, so the correct answer over here is B. Bark is an archaic word for a sailing vessel. Now, you'll all say that, oh, that means that I don't only have to learn today's vocabulary, but also archaic English. No, but we work around it. We look for clues in the prose and poetry to understand the meaning of words. With this, I move on to the next question. And this again is a slightly challenging question. So, which choice completes the text with the most logical word or phrase, which again means that you will come down to two answer choices and you will have to probably choose between the two of them. So, this passage is from Henry Van Dyke, The Americanism of Washington. It was originally published in 1906. So, now you have American political history passage. Okay, so this is the variety of passages that you could get in the SAT. He blank profitable office and sure preferment under the crown for hard work, uncertain pay, and certain peril in behalf of the colonies. Okay, now if you look, this is a very neutral connotation sentence. Very short, very sweet, but no clues are there. And if you also look, pursued, garnered, glorified, forfeited. Okay. A, B, and C, or A and B, I can say, almost mean the same, to pursue something or to gather something. Okay. Glorified and forfeited. So again, I come down to the participants and I'll ask them what you think is the answer. Right? So please give me a thumbs up. How many of you think that the answer is A? B? I want a thumbs up coming from the participants. How many of you think that the answer is B? C? And D? I'm not getting any answers. So how many of you think that the answer is D? Excellent. Okay, great. The class is catching up. Okay. Yes, the answer is D. And why is the answer D? Now, this question is not only about vocabulary, it is also about the idiomatic usage of words, which means which verb goes with which preposition. Okay, so what are prepositions? They are words which tell you about the position. So you always pursue after something. Okay, now here the verbs which are pursued, garnered, glorified, forfeited, which will come, one of them will come here, has been distanced from its preposition. You have the word profitable office and sure preferment under the crown. This small phrase, distancing, creating a distance between the verb and its preposition. Garner does not need any preposition. Glorified is completely, I would say, out. This is a neutral connotation sentence. And then I have forfeited. This is just the opposite of A, B, and C. But please remember D is the right answer because you forfeit X for Y. So, had you known the idiomatic usage of these verbs, you would have come down very quickly to D answer choice. Now, all the words might not have been known to you, and we'll pick up words from these questions and do them with the third pillar, that is core knowledge building. So, let's go now to the last question and the highest difficulty question. And it says, as used in the text, what does the word naive most nearly mean? This passage is from Gilbert Hyatt, The Art of Teaching, copyright 1950. Okay, his methods were first, the modest declaration of his own ignorance, which imperceptibly flattered the other man and made him eager to explain to such an intelligent but naive inquirer. Second, his adaptability, which showed him the side on which each man could be best approached. And third, his unfailing good humor, which allowed him always to keep the conversation going and at crisis when the other lost his temper to dominate it. Now, this is where SAT is getting harsh with you. A very verbose question. Okay, out of which only the first two lines are relevant, right? Now imagine if you start plugging in every answer choice instead of naive. You will be reading such a verbose, such a long sentence 4 times. Now, how is this question made tougher? If you see A, B, C, and D are very close in meanings, okay? The exact dictionary meaning of the word naive is innocent, okay? Guileless also means something close, okay? Those who don't know the meaning of the word guile, we'll leave it. C, uninformed and credulous. Now, again, how many of you, and I want answers coming from all of you again, think that the answer is A? Please give a thumbs up. B. How many of you think that the answer is C? And finally, how many of you think that the answer is B? Please give a thumbs up. Okay, so this is one of the most tricky questions that we have, right? And here the answer is C. Now, A, B, C, and D are all very close answer choices. Okay, so the dictionary meaning of the word naive is innocent. So I'll keep that. It could be guileless. But then if innocent is correct, so should guileless be correct. So POE, you cannot have two correct answers. Your A, B goes out. Then why uninformed? Here comes your blurb. Please read the blurb, The Art of Teaching. We are talking about teaching over here. So we are talking about information, eager to explain. Please remember, look for clues in the sentence. And hence, what is closest to eager to explain is uninformed. Okay. He is a naive inquirer, not in terms of his personal characteristics. He is naive because he is pretending to be uninformed. This is his art of teaching, and hence C is your correct answer. So, very close answer choices, but as used in the text, uninformed is the correct answer. I will be taking up all your queries at the end of the master class once Faraz has also done his section. So now you have seen the high level of vocabulary that the SAT tests you on. So all the students on board, please start reading books, magazines, and journals, start playing games, crossword games, etc. And start noting down words in your vocabulary journal, right? And now we come to the short term approach of vocabulary building, which you can do on a daily basis. Please download a dictionary. My favorite is WordWeb on your laptop, on your phone. Whenever you come across any difficult words, please start looking them up. Okay? And remember, it is various techniques. You start using a word frequently and you learn its meaning. You try and connect it with other words and you start learning their meaning. You learn stories about words and you learn their meaning. You learn meaning from their opposites. Okay, and that's how you learn the meaning of words. So, for example, philanthropic. Remember, most of the words in English language come from Latin, Greek, French. So, phil means to love and anthropo means humankind. So, philanthropy is the love of humankind. Sophie means knowledge. So, philosophy is the love of knowledge. Let me go to the historical evolution of words, and now you will never forget what juggernaut means. Juggernaut is a word that comes from India, from Jagannath Yatra. It's about the fanatic religious fervor of people which makes them lie on the path of the Rath because they want to die under the Rath wheels and get moksha. So, Juggernaut means extreme fanatism. And serendipity? Now, the word serendip, how many of you know the meaning of the word serendip, not serendipity? Please raise your thumb. Meaning of serendipity. Please raise your thumb. Yes. So it comes from Serendip, which means Sri Lanka. So the story is about three princes who accidentally had some very interesting discoveries. Okay. So a happy chance discovery is called serendipity. Serendip being Sri Lanka. So the three princes of Serendip. Now, forte means strong point. A forte is a strong point. And feeble means weak, the opposite. Bark comes from a ship. So when you go on a ship sailing, you embark on a journey. When you garner information, you collect information. It comes from a granary where you gather grains. So you gather information. See how simple the words are. Okay. Forfeited is something, it's like a legal term. You forfeit your claim to property when you do something wrong. Okay. And guile, vile and guile. So the pronunciation of the word has changed or evolved. Wiley the wolf and Guiley the wolf. Okay. So this is how you learn words. And I've taken a lot of your time. Yes. So this meeting has extended a little bit more than it was supposed to. So following the credos of Let's Unbound, which means the beliefs. Okay. We now go to the next section and I hand over to Faraz. Thank you so much. We'll take your questions in the end.
Right. Thank you, Namrata, for that section. It was really interesting, quite some great points that you have touched upon. And I think one of the most important aspects that I could summarize from the points that you're saying, it's very important to continue to read. It's very important to continue to build on to as she was saying, your vocabulary. So what I have really collected from that part, it's extremely important to be working hard and consistently towards your overall target of getting that perfect 730, 750 to an 800 kind of a score within the English section. Now, just not taking the presentation forward and trying to explain how do we really look into this whole aspect of the digital SAT and how do we help students in taking across this challenge of getting the perfect kind of score, the 1500 to 1600 range of scoring for a top university. So one of those first things that we have created for the betterment of our students is the digital SAT lab. Before that, I'm just dropping a link for you on the main chat section itself, where you would be able to conduct a SAT diagnostic for yourself, and we'll be able to share the reports to you, giving you a good understanding of where do you really stand currently with the skills that you hold within the SAT paper, be it in maths, be it in the reading and writing. And that's the typical start point of the roadmap for all of our students who we're working with under the digital SAT lab. And then we move this discussion from the diagnostic into an actionable plan with that personalized study plan, where after assessing your performance in the two sections, we'll really give you a clear roadmap ahead of preparation. What do you need to work across on to get that targeted score? At the same time, all of our sessions are conducted on one-to-one live tutoring methodology, where you can, attend this session on your own convenience, in your own environment, and also a very important environment, the digital environment. We also will be giving you a lot of good exclusive strategy sessions, specifically on your problem areas or sore pain areas within the SAT paper. And at the same time, you would be introduced to 20 full-length mock tests online in that exact same environment as you would be expecting to do the SAT examination itself. Now, what are the pillars that we really believe in terms of cracking the SAT examination? It's accuracy, it's speed, it's examiner strategy, strategy and stamina. Now, with accuracy, what we're really saying is about understanding the application of the concept. Right? That is the prime important thing that how SAT has been designed across SAT. This is going to be a battle of speed. You've got 2 hours, 14 minutes. Definitely, it's a long time period. That's where the stamina also comes in. But speed is going to be of the extreme importance. As I had told you, the time that you have per question, be it the English section, be it the math section. And one of the most important things that really save you across is just the repetition of the same thing. It is going to be practice, right? And also just to quote again from Bruce Lee of "I fear not the man, who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick but 10,000 times. So that's the whole concept that we typically run across within your preparation philosophy of SAT. Now, the diagnostic test summary itself, how it's going to come across to you, you will see the division of the both sections performance individually, right, in terms of the time taken, in terms of the accuracy, the incorrect questions, the correct questions, the amount of questions you skipped, the time you took to come across an audit decision on a broader level, and also within the section wise aspect where you also go across the reading and writing, where we'll tell you the correct, incorrect, and skip question, and at the same time, the time taken for the same. Now, you also have that within the math section. Right. Now, why digital SAT lab? So these are your overall reasons, the whole personalized attention, decades of research that we have created, working with various students, preparing for SAT, the all-in-one preparation as well, giving you complete, bouquet of knowledge, books aspect with the SAT preparations, both sections, and also then merging it with your complete application. We also do follow the three-tiered preparation approach, where we'll be gradually building the difficulty level from the level that you are currently at to the level of the examination itself. Now, quickly to point to you a couple of success stories. And this is just to show you a student who had come across with us with a score around 1190 around October 2024. And by the time that he had completed within 60 days, he had jumped it across to a 1340, a point improvement of 150 points. Now, this is another kid who had come across with us with a 1300 SAT score in grade 11 and had difficult problems in various areas. We helped them to improve their decision making, answer elimination technique. We showed them the efficient use of the Desmos for math solving problem, and also gave a lot of full length time practice tests. Eventually, the student made an improvement and got the SAT score of 1540. This is another example of a kid, a journey to darkness. He eventually got a score of 1550. And also not just talking about the SAT score, the overall profile. He had participated on the prestigious essay competition at Oxford. He was a national level basketball player, founded an NGO, solo singer, performed charity events, and contributed his voice to the school choir. So it was a strong profile, the SAT score, all of the accomplishments that really earned him the spot at the Dartmouth. Now, as we always end all of our sessions with the resources part, this session itself was another example of the various master classes that we conduct on a weekly basis. By Monday, Tuesday, you have the topic of the next weekend, and we will also be seeing you again all of these weekend sessions that we do hold on a different topic about admissions abroad. At the same time, you can access our various newsletters by clicking on the QR code at the bottom, right? It's going to take you straight to our newsletters, which you could access reading different aspects on admissions abroad. At the same time, I'm also just dropping you the link for the newsletters onto your chat box, so you could also use it across from here. At the same time, you could also join these various communities. We've got one for podcast. We also have a WhatsApp community, just aligning students who are working, in sync towards admissions abroad. At the same time, you can also, access the SAT diagnostic test through this QR code on your screen. And I've also dropped you previously on the chat, the QR the link that you could use for the SAT diagnostic. Moving across to the last slide. So you could connect with us if you want to have a better or individual understanding behind SAT, any section, or overall admissions abroad as well. So we would be happy to cater to all of your questions with admissions. Right. So that's about it from our side regarding the presentation. I would just allow the next couple of minutes, and I'm just monitoring the main chat. If you have any questions, you could just drop them onto the main chat section itself. I'll just be picking them up for the questions and answers. Right. So if there are any questions, you could just drop them on the chat section and we would take them. Me and Namrata would be happy to answer any queries that you have had. Right, so I'm just going to give the next 30 seconds for any questions that you do have. If there are none, we would conclude our session for today. Right. We don't seem Namrata, we don't see much questions today. I think we did a good job in terms of explaining the whole topic. And we will now just conclude for the day. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the wonderful explanation on the SAT section. And I'm just closing the link. Thank you. Good evening to everyone.